Trade deadline is Tuesday. A lot of speculation, a lot of rumors going around. Let's just talk about the rumors first versus what they actually should or might do, because there's been rumors going around, obviously quarterback, but there's also been articles coming out. Mary Kay, and others have said the Browns are not going to do it. They're not interested in trading for Jacoby, which is whatever. But position wise, reportedly, Browns are looking at running back as a possibility, looking at wide receiver as a possibility. Offensive line has been mentioned. And then just kind of a random one that came out of the blue, Carl Lawson has been tied to the Browns. So, I have a lot that I could say on this, but Tristan, I'm going to let you go first, just because I want to know where your head's at, because some of this is very confusing to me. So
Yeah, so
go
let
ahead.
me start with the Carl Lawson thing. I think it makes zero sense to bring in Carl Lawson. Like, I mean, he's got a fairly significant cap hit. He hasn't really done much of anything in New York. I know he when he signed his deal in New York, he was a pressure monster. And before he got hurt, he was looking good with the Jets, but I mean, I don't see how it makes sense, because if you're bringing him in, you're essentially saying, okay, well, Zadarius Smith, we can't re-sign you. Saying to a couple of other guys like Grant Delpit, we're probably not going to be able to re-sign you. There's a lot of other implications to it with bringing in Carl Lawson, and I just don't think we need him. I don't. Like, the D line is very solid right now. I mean, you've got a healthy rotation of Miles, Zadarius, Obo, and Alex Wright that are fine. And it's not like by getting him you can kick somebody inside to help out the interior. The interior is doing fine. I don't think it makes sense to mess with something that's working. And I think that by the end of the season, we're going to want to be able to sit here and say, hey, we can bring back Zadarius. We might be able to bring back Grant, in that position.
Franchise tag. I think Grant is looking at a franchise tag for sure. That makes the most sense.
I agree with that. But I mean, there's just so many different, options available. But if you bring in Carl Lawson, you're kind of shooting that down. So I don't think that makes sense. As far as the offensive positions, before we kind of get into like what we think we should be targeting, I will say the rumored areas are areas that I think make sense for the Browns to be looking at. But I don't get not going for Jacoby. I don't get that at all. What have you seen out of PJ? What have you seen, even though it's unjust, what have you seen out of DTR? Right? Like, we don't know how long Deshaun's going to be out. They can say that it's week to week and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this AFC is going to come down to like a game or two. And if you had Jacoby in this last one, you probably are a 5-2 football team. like that's just the reality of it. So I just think, but either way, Derek, what are your thoughts on like the reported guys, or the reported positions, I should say, as well?
Firstly, on quarterback, I think the only possibility, and this would be good, this would be great if this were the case, but the only thing that makes sense to me about not looking at quarterback is Deshaun is way ahead and way more ready to go than we think, which would be great. That would be awesome. I've stated my opinion on it. I don't believe that. I don't at all. But that's really the only scenario, because like you just mentioned, it's not like you've seen anything from PJ. You haven't seen anything out of DTR yet. It's just it doesn't make sense to me. So hope Deshaun can come back as soon as possible. That's the biggest thing out of that. Um, you want to
Yeah,
say
I was
something?
also going to say something that I completely overlooked when I was talking about the quarterback position as well. Remember, the Chiefs had to bring in Chad Henne because Pat
Yeah,
Mahomes was in concussion protocol against us, and Chad Henne had to win a playoff game for them. So the backup quarterback position, absolutely, it's going to matter. Whether Deshaun comes back this next week, and here from here forward, that position is going to matter at some point again. So anyway, sorry. Yeah, keep
yeah.
going. Keep going.
No, no, no. You're good. Um, Offensive line has been talked about. I don't. I mentioned this on my video for the Dogs podcast. I don't think at this point offensive line is as dire of a need as it was before because Jedrick Wills is finally playing like competent football. And at this point, risk versus what it would take. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Would I be willing to give up the picks, the money? No, I just don't think it's worth it at this point. So offensive line, unless it's like unless they feel they need a depth guy, which would be a cheap move, but that doesn't even make sense. So I don't think offensive line is something that will happen. Um, the two positions that intrigue me a lot, running back and wide receiver. Let's um let's start with running back first. I think I understand it. I understand it because if you can go out and get a game changer at running back with Deshaun out, and the only guy would be like Derrick Henry, but that's been reported they don't want to trade him, and I don't think the Browns would do what it takes to get him anyway. Um,
Well, and not
that's
only
different.
that, but the Titans just found their franchise quarterback, so they might have they might have a deep
Whatever.
playoff run in
We're
them.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. But the only one that makes sense to me at running back would be a game changer, come in, start for you type of running back. I threw out like Michael Carter from the Jets, but the way Pierre Strong's playing, I don't want to take carries away from him. If anything, I want to increase his role. So at this point, running back is really just not something that I'm super highly concerned about. I'm concerned about if one of those guys goes down, sure. That's one thing. Um, and obviously Jerome Ford did, but based on what we saw today, running back by committee, the way we've done it so far has been beyond fine. I mean, like I said, 55, 41, and 37 yards from all three
And
of them.
not to mention, like, do you even feel bad if you have to bring Demetric Felton off the practice squad? Not at
No, no, no,
all.
no, no,
So
not at
yeah,
all.
I'm with you.
No, no. So unless there's just an opportunity they can't pass up, I don't see it happening. I don't. However, the one position that unfortunately, I think it will happen is wide receiver. I think the Browns will trade for a receiver, and I'll be a little bit disappointed if we don't. If I'll be completely honest with you, Donovan Peoples Jones has done about as much for the Browns this season as you or me on the field, and it's tough because it's a couple factors. I don't think it's necessarily him. I think the way this offense is shaped is not necessarily meant for him really anymore. To have any sort of contributor role. Um, your quarterback has not been there. That's another thing. And it's just I don't really see a need for him anymore, unfortunately, on this team. And I think he could be better elsewhere. So, um, I wouldn't be surprised if DPJ were to be moved. That wouldn't surprise me. But as far as bringing in a receiver, I think here's the thing: Amari Cooper, David Njoku, and Elijah Moore, your top three receiving. What's the right word? Production wise, top three.
Threats. Yeah.
Yeah, threats. There you go. In this game and so far in every game, Mari Cooper's been great, right? Mari Cooper today, like I said, 6 for 89. Awesome. Um, that's great. Then you're looking at Njoku, and Njoku has started to break out more and has started putting up consistent performances in the last 3 weeks now. Today, like I said, 4 for 77 and a touchdown. Is he going to do that every week? No. And then Elijah Moore 2 for 30. Here's my thinking. I I think that if you brought in a receiver who could be a number two, or at least be a 2/3, move Elijah Moore around that much more and kind of have him as a free guy that you can use all over the board, I think that is more valuable. It might cause his targets to go down, right? But the threat of him becomes much more significant. So I would love Jerry Judy, right? Jerry Judy last week, I don't know what he did today. I think he scored a touchdown today. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But I know last week he was 5 for 5 for 65 yards, right? So just for context, that would be the number two right now on the Browns, right? Just put those numbers, right? If you put, let's do this. Let's insert that stat line, and obviously it's that's not fair to do, but just stick with me here, right? 5 for 5, 65. That would mean Amari Cooper would be your number one receiver with 6 for 89. Jerry Judy would be your number two with 5 for 65. Or actually, he would be your number three because Njoku went for 77. But just imagine the drastic change as far as the level of threats in the passing game if you added a legit number 2/3. Do I think it's going to be Jerry Judy? I would absolutely love it. And if you want me to sell you on Jerry Judy, I can sit here for a good 2 hours and explain it, and talk about it, and sell it to you. But I'm not Andrew Berry. I don't need to do that. If we trade for him, sure, I'd be more than happy to. But I just don't know if that would happen. I don't know what it would take at this point, right? Denver wanted a first. I don't think it was that price really. I think it was more like a second and something. I think the price has gone down a little bit. So if the Browns could get it done for a third and a fifth, something like that, sure, I would do it. 100% I would do it. But I just don't. I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Jerry Judy basket. I think you're more so looking at a guy who is currently a number three on a good team and could come in and play well. Or, Tristan, here's an idea. I don't know what it would take to get him. I don't know what his contract looks like. I have no clue. I'm just going off the top of
Can
the
I
dome
guess?
here. But I would,
I
yeah,
think you're
go
going to
ahead.
say Devontae Adams. No.
No.
Ooh.
Much less than that. Much less than that. Um, at the point in the season where this team is currently at, they just so happen to be playing right now. I wonder if you called Chicago about Darnell Mooney. I wonder if you could bring a guy like Darnell Mooney over to Cleveland who could come in. He would be exactly that. He would be like a 2/3. I think he would be interesting. And I'm not saying him specifically. I'm just saying like that type of player where he's not a number one. He's not a young breakout guy, but he's kind of,
Yeah. Do you want me to give you the cap number?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
right now, uh, so it's last year of his deal. Total cap is 3 mil, but let me see what we're looking at is a
Ooh,
trade. We would, yeah.
that
So
just
we would get like almost near a $3 million cap hit with that trade. So could make sense. Yeah.
it's fine with me. That's fine with me. I mean, I think and it doesn't even have to be Darnell Mooney. He's just a guy that I've really liked in the league. That's not like a top name. Um, I think the Browns need to bring in another receiver because given that Nick Chubb's hurt, you're not going to be able to treat the run game as your number one. Um, as far as game planning to move the ball offensively, I don't think that's something you can do. I think that needs to be kind of like a piece to the puzzle. Whereas before, if the pass game wasn't working, guess what? Chubb. There you go. Um, You don't have that anymore. So I definitely think I think you're just missing that one guy because you haven't gotten anything out of DPJ. You have not gotten anything really out of David Bell consistently. Although he's made some critical catches, he has. It's just not consistent. He doesn't have a consistent role. And Tillman hasn't done anything yet
Has
either.
he even had
So
his first catch, Tillman?
no, I
If
don't
he
think he
has,
has.
it's
I think they're kind of redshirting him,
I don't
honestly.
hate it either. I mean, but
Yeah, I don't either. But I don't know. I definitely think the Browns need to make a move at receiver and bring somebody else in. But yeah, your thoughts.
e- exactly the same as you, honestly. I'm with you. I think offensive line doesn't really make sense at this point. Defense, there's no ginormous holes in the defense that it's like, hey, we need this. So I don't think it makes sense to bring in anybody into the defense right now. Um, but offensively, offensive line, don't think it makes sense. Um, Running back, again, you would have to be comfortable either carrying four running backs on the roster or letting either Jerome Ford or Pierre Strong hit waivers and potentially go, if you're lucky, get them back on the practice squad. But I mean, I'm confident and I'm content with those guys. I mean, Pierre Strong, I've been calling out for weeks for him to get more carries, and every week that's going by that I've seen him get more carries, I'm confident he could.
He's getting
Yeah,
better and
I'm
better.
confident he can do
Yeah.
more. So, for me, this running back by committee thing, I think it's fine. And again, even if you have an injury, I don't feel terrible about bringing in Demetric Felton. I'm comfortable with that. Are you kidding me? Um, so I don't think the running back room needs touched. I'm with you, Derek. This team needs another receiver. Um, to put it quite simply, this offense, we can't afford to have passengers. Guys that are supposed to be producing but are just along for the ride. And as brutal as it sounds, that's what DPJ's been. He hasn't done anything in the
Mhm.
return game. He's been a god awful returner, if we're being brutally honest here. Elijah Moore got a couple of returns in today, and he looked pretty electric. He looked like he could break one off. So I'd much rather have him back there. But of course, you can't put your number two receiver back there because what if he gets hurt? Now you're
Yeah.
only down to one legitimate threat at receiver. So it makes sense from a point that you can allow Elijah Moore to do a little bit more, kind of flex him all over the place. But also, Derek, at least me, schematically, I am noticing us start to play more spread offense. And I think
Yeah.
that,
Since Chubb's been out,
yes.
yes,
And
absolutely.
honestly, with Deshaun Watson as the quarterback, you should be running him out of the gun in a spread offense the majority of his snaps because that's just what he's best at. He'll find the open guy. You got to have enough guys on the field to get open. That's the big thing for him. Um, and for his style where he'll be able to buy some extra time, you need more receivers on the field that when he buys that extra time, one of them's going to get open and he's going to find them. So, it makes sense for us to bring in another legitimate threat where now you can play a spread offense style where you can have your receivers lined up. Amari Cooper, let's say for hypothetical, Jerry Judy or Cortland Sutton, Elijah Moore, and David Njoku. That's four players that are capable of giving you a great play,
Mhm.
and you can really spread them out in that way. And, you said it, David Bell.
Oh,
David Bell,
I'd love
yeah.
Sutton. I don't think it's happening, but
Oh,
I
I
would
don't
love
think so
Sutton.
either.
I know I've mentioned Judy a lot, not to cut you
No, no,
off,
no, you're
but
fine.
the reason why I've not mentioned Sutton is just because I think he's untouchable. I think he's the one they would keep out of the two.
Apparently, the reports I heard was that this past offseason, they were asking for a first round pick for Judy and a second round pick for Sutton. So, yeah, so
Really?
they might
Wow.
value Sutton less, which is interesting
Okay.
because I'm with you. I think Sutton's produced more.
I
Yeah,
understand it. I because Judy is that talented.
he
He
is.
really
They just haven't
is.
been able to tap into it. But
But Sutton's
yeah,
produced more. That's
yeah,
why,
no, I'm with you.
if you could grab either one of those,
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely. And I'm with you, Derek, because it adds a whole nother dimension to our team. And I think ultimately now because of the fact that we're not getting Nick Chubb back, we're not going to be able to get somebody like Nick Chubb. Even if you find a way to bring in Derrick Henry, I still don't think it's the same as Chubb. Just brutally
Dalvin
honest.
Cook's been talked about. Some people in New York think he's a trade possibility. Would you
No,
touch that?
not with a 10-foot pole. I think yes, I
Really?
think he's washed. I
Okay.
genuinely think he's washed. I think that
Interesting.
um, I think the fact that Brees Hall is lighting it up out of that backfield, and he as the number two option can't even get like 3 yards per carry. I think that's shocking, like absolutely abysmal. And so I think that honestly, I think he's going to be out of the league next year. I think he's that. I think he's
Whoa.
that bad. I genuinely do.
So you think this is Todd Gurley, huh?
Absolutely. I'm jumping on that train. I don't think he
Really?
is the I don't think he's going to be
Wow.
a number one running back in the NFL again, ever again. Brutal, like
Hmm.
even as a number two or number three, he doesn't really offer you much. He's just going to have a higher cap hit. That's all it is. So yeah, I mean
Interesting.
Pierre Strong's a better
Hmm.
runner than him. I'd take Pierre Strong over him 10 days out of 10.
Ooh.
So I know this
Ooh.
is like hot take central because Dalvin Cook, like you think about the elite running back for the Vikings, he is not that anymore. That's why they had to cut him. Nobody was going to trade for him. So that's
Hmm.
it's just facts. Like he is not the guy who he used to be. It's the sad reality of a running back in this league. When they go fast. Like that's why, and this might be a hot take. I think Kareem Hunt has max 1, maybe 2 more years left in the league before he jumps off of his cliff. I mean, we've seen it the past couple of years. He doesn't have that extra explosive step. So
You know what's crazy though? You see guys like that, and then you see the guys like Raheem Mostert and guys like that who are older and they still got it. It's
it's
crazy. Running back is
it's
crazy.
incredibly hard. It's an incredibly hard position to predict. So, but yeah, no, I'm with you. No running back. Get another receiver and play more spread because it's clearly going to benefit your quarterback more in the long run.
Hmm.
And you know what I like is we're getting more variation from Stefanski. We're seeing him go into spread. We're seeing him put 7 linemen on the field. We're seeing him quite literally um, just mix it up. Like it felt like in past years, like we've run two tight ends on the field almost all the time. And
Yes.
it got to a point where the offense was really stagnant. Everybody knew what we wanted to do, and now it feels like he's starting to mix up his passing game more. I will say, um, so listen, at the end of the day, if you're going to win the Super Bowl this year, it's going to be with Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson being a superstar. So, what are you going to do as a football team that's going to give Deshaun Watson the best opportunity to be a superstar? And I don't think there's anything you can add to the run game that's going to significantly change that. There's not going to be anything to the O line that you add that's going to significantly change that. It's your receiving. I think that's dead nuts on. Um,
Hmm.
I'm with you, Derek, that that's the move to make. But I also told you before we started, I just have a feeling like we're not going to make a deal. I just I we really need to, and I think we absolutely should. But I just have a feeling we're not going to do it. I don't know why, but I just I wonder if because of our limited draft capital, we're just going to hold on to what we've got. And I think that'd be a terrible mistake. I think we should make two deals. I think we should get Jacoby Brissett through the doors, and I think that we should get a wide receiver through the doors, a legit wide receiver too.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if we did a little bit of selling too. I wouldn't be surprised if DPJ was sold off to the highest bidder. Um, I would say Harrison Bryant, but I don't think anybody wants him
I mean,
anyway.
I don't think Harrison Bryant's like a net negative. I don't think he's a net positive either. But he's a guy that is all right. Like fairly reliable tight end three. So on a cheap deal, why not? So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But anyway, let's transition into our last point here cuz we got to wrap up here soon
yeah.
because technical difficulties. But anyway, Cardinals preview. We should just because this is going to be uploaded as a second or a different video, not just all in one podcast. Disclaimer right off the bat, we are recording this Sunday night, right after the Seahawks game, unfortunately. Um, if you're watching this later in the week, yeah, still painful. Still painful. You know it's going to be, right? So, um, by this point, the Browns might have made some trades. They might have done nothing. Who knows? You're in the future. We're talking to you from the past. So, hopefully, Browns fan in the future is way happier than Browns fan is right now. But with that being said, currently where we stand, we don't know what's going to happen next week with Deshaun. We don't know if he's playing. We don't know if DTR is playing. We don't know if PJ is playing. We don't know who the starting quarterback is for the Browns. What we do know, actually, Tristan, I don't know if you saw the news or not. Confirmed Kyler Murray will not be starting against the Browns in Cleveland. So we know that. And another thing we know is I will be there. I will be in Cleveland for this game. For better, for worse, do I want to jump off the bridge onto the highway after this game? We'll see. Do I want to jump in Lake Erie? We'll see. Who knows? Who knows?